Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. And in Mechabellum, we all make mistakes. But what happens when a high-level player misclicks and skips the turn in a tournament game? Let's find out. At the bottom here, we have Illuminati playing as a cost control specialist. And he's up against Baller playing as a quick supply specialist. We have Steel Balls, Arclights into Steel Balls, Crawlers. And of course, being a quick supply specialist, Baller was able to quickly call down that additional supply and bought an extra Arclight right there. Baller decided to go asymmetrical aggro with the Crawler and Steel Balls. And of course, Illuminati, being a very standard type of player, decided to play defensively with the unit that he has. It's going to be a little tricky, right? Because we have pretty much the same type of units with Baller having one additional crawler. So it's very tricky for the defender to predict where the units are going to be. By having the units behind the tower, they have a higher chance to target and move towards the correct set of army. So this is what's happening here. Now in the first round here, it's going to be a bit of a mystery because we essentially have the same value of armies for both sides coming on this on the far right. But it looks like Baller is going to take the advantage with that additional crawler. Round 2 got a few interesting cards. I think with subsidized steel ball is could be very good, especially if you're running Magdiv. Magdiv produces 5 crawlers every time a steel ball dies, which means by the time your entire 4 steel balls gets destroyed, you'll end up with 20 crawlers. So that's not a pretty bad, not a bad deal, especially if you can get the steel balls for 150 supplies. Both sides decided to skip, and Baller decided to add a Wraith, turning this composition into a very classic Wraith ball. And this is a great aggro comp, and especially when they're so close to the tower, it will allow Baller to quickly just rush into that tower if not being defended properly by Illuminati. Illuminati knows the stake and of course decided to add 2 squads of vertical sledgehammers. They would slow down the steel ball push considerably since the steel balls will have to focus on the individual tanks and to charge up. And the good thing about sledgehammers is that the Wraith is actually not that great until it gets some levels and also until it gets 8 gun. But even then, it will take multiple shots from the Wraith to dispatch a single sledgehammer. So vertical sledges are really the bane of Wraith Ball because they just provide so much buffer between the tower and the rest of the unit. There's going to be a flank coming in from the far right. It's going to pull some of these crawlers away. And now we get to see the sledgehammers work. But on the far left, Illuminati did what we call a pro gamer move. It decided to sell a pair of steel balls and buy them back again, of course, at the cost of additional deployment. Right there at the line, able to allowing him to get the tower very early. But since he does not have any anti-air, this round is again going to go to Baller. Alright, some pretty good experience here for that Wraith. Fortunately, did not level in this round just yet. Shield drop could be very good for the defensive player. Nano repair kit could be great on a pair of steel balls, especially if they have already leveled, which they do. Illuminati ended up taking portable shield. I wonder where it's going to be used the portable shield on. And it's going to be on the steel balls, the shock trooper steel balls. 2 pairs of phoenixes come down, specifically to answer this Wraith problem. He doesn't really have a chaff clear problem with the combination of 2 sledgehammers and 2 arclights. So he really just needs to hold off the Wraith. And he should be in pretty good shape. The crawler on the side is very annoying. Wouldn't be surprised if Illuminati decides to answer that with either a extra Arclight or with the crawlers of his own. We have oil here coming down for the strong side, so that's going to slow down these steel balls considerably. And he once again sold the shock trooper steel balls and putting the portable shield on the sledgehammer right now. Okay. So the side is kind of being answered with the missile, but okay, so that's not bad. The Phoenixes actually get a chance to start shooting at his high HP targets. The Wraith did come down. However, there are still 2 squads of Fangs that they need to take care of. And it looks like Illuminati may just have enough to win this round. We have a unit dropping round 3. I think Farseer could be very interesting to play here. Farseer could be good for both sides, but I think it's especially good here for the aggro player. But Baller decided to take the Scorpions because he wants to get rid of the Sledgehammers a little quicker. For Illuminati here, I think Farseer and Scorpion both are great options. Level 3 Marksman is a bit overkill because he already runs Phoenixes. We'll have to see. The Sabertooth is okay, but they do kill steel balls rather slowly, so I would much prefer the Scorpion over the Sabertooth. It looks like Baller would just continue to fortify the side even if there's oil on the ground. The oil will disappear after this turn. And for Illuminati, it's going to be 3 level 3 Marksman. That's very interesting. So right now, his front line looks a little bit weak because of the 2 Scorpions. So the thing that's kind of holding it all together, these 2 packs of Sledgehammers, will be destroyed very quickly. Alright, Illuminati decided to sell a pair of Phoenixes now that he is going pretty heavily into the Marksman. The advantage of going Marksman is that if Baller decides to double down on this Wraith, and it looks like he might, taking the range technology, Illuminati can just quickly click the aerial specialization and he'll be able to dispatch this Wraith. There's going to be a flanking Phoenix on the side from Baller, and this is going to be a very good round because once you get the tower, everything just starts to fall apart. The oil, though, is actually holding back a considerable amount of Baller's forces, and the lack of chaff clear here from this arc light is holding down the steel ball. So this round is actually not looking terrible for Illuminati, despite the early tower capture from his opponent. All right, getting into round 5 here. Efficient tech research is going to be much better for Illuminati since he hasn't really taken any tech on his unit so far. But instead, it was taken by Baller, which I thought it was very interesting. It would have been a lot better for Illuminati because he will start teching at least range for some of his units, right? All right, Baller's got his unit deployment, adding additional Scorpions down. And this is the round where Illuminati misclicked the end turn button. So he didn't get a chance to buy anything floating 1550 supplies. And sometimes it might be a blessing in disguise, right? If you already have an army that was kind of winning the battle, and you just happen to forget clicking or forget to do your unit deployment, what you're really missing out on are the 2+1 if you decide to take mass deployment of the unit opportunities, because later on you can use the additional resource for a extremely hard pivot. All right, let's see how this round goes. All right, the scorpions are coming down. They're doing quite a lot of damage. But now the front line has disappeared, so these level 3 marksmen are just ripping through these large units. And it's actually not that bad. I thought it would be super one-sided for this round, but it's actually not that bad. And now that Illuminati knows what Balor's game plan is, right, it consists of scorpions and of course Ball Wraith in disguise, he can respond to it correctly, and just so happened there is a unit drop, so lots of great options here. For Illuminati, I like fortresses if he runs a punch, and it looks like he does not run punch. Overlords could be another great option. Vulcan could be a great option as well. Vulcan with Firebomb can clear out quite a few of these crawlers. As a Ball Wraith player, I absolutely loathe Vulcan with Firebomb because it just does so much chaff clear on the ground. And there's really nothing you can do about it. You can't really do loose. You can't put more chaff in front of your army because you're going aggro. So you're just going to have to get more steel balls, I suppose, and hope that your opponent doesn't really hard counter your steel balls. It's just a very tricky situation to play into when your opponent's Vulcan has incendiary bomb. Alright, now with the really deep pocket, Illuminati decided to drop a pair of level 2 Overlords. Is there going to be a third one? Yes, indeed. There's going to be a third Overlord. And it's still got 350 supplies left over, which means it can take launcher overload. So in a very surprising turn of events, Illuminati's board has just leveled up. Now he has fantastic ground clear. The firebomb is going to kill a lot of the crawlers, and not to mention the Vulcan themselves. And once the crawlers are gone, these boats are going to just rip everything apart, right? The boats are naturally already pretty good into the scorpions. They're fantastic into medium units like the steel balls. Because your opponent is going aggro, he doesn't really need to have range, not right away anyways, because most of his units would just be within range. Tower did go down on the far left, and we have a level 3 Farseer, and these guys pack a punch. Ooh, that Farseer is getting so much value this turn. That Farseer can actually win this game because of just how much damage it does. For every 1.6 seconds, it fires 2 rockets, each dealing 3,800 worth of damage. So that's more than 7,000 damage, 1.6 seconds. Photon Coating and Potable Shield both are great for, I mean, they're just good cards when your units are headbutting. So it's going to be Photon on a boat. I think Illuminati wants the boat to survive a little bit longer. And I think this turn he really needs to address the problem on the side. The Farseer is now level 4. And the Farseer's native range of 140 meters is longer than a boat's range with launcher overload. So this Farseer is going to outrange the boat no matter what. And now with EM, not only they're going to outrange the boats, they're also going to slow them down and disable their range tech. So this is a deadly combination from our red player. Oil goes down. I think the goal here is really just to cause mutually assured destruction, because with this much fire on the ground, really there's not going to be any chaff left. In that case, I think it benefits Illuminati a little bit more because most of his units are unaffected by fire anyways. Lots of missiles going down, so when you're playing aggro, one of your soft underbelly spots are going to be the back. So you want to make sure at least have some type of early warning system in case your opponent decides to put a Phoenix or a pair of Crawlers, right? Alright, level 4 Farseer, doing a tremendous amount of damage, and of course, all the other Farseer behind it. Because once they land their shot onto a boat, that boat is pretty much dead. Alright, level 4 Farseer, can he do it? Yes. Able to get that boat, but I don't think he has enough range to deal with the rest of the boats. Ooh, gets one more. Maybe gets another Vulcan. Not quite. Incendiary Bomb is offered. Again, great card. When your opponent's going ASIM aggro, you can probably just put it instant right here. It is also picked up by his opponent. The third tech, Photon, is taking on the boat specifically to answer EM from this Farseer. But I feel like the Farseer on the left, this level 4 Farseer, soon to be level 5, it's just a little too powerful. And now with range, which means these boats will never really have a good chance of getting into them. And Farseer, once they're leveled, can deal with boats really efficiently. One thing I'm very surprised is that there's no range in any sort of chaff clear. So I guess the argument can be made that since all of the crawlers and most of the chaff from Baller are just crawlers, since they'll always be running at you, there's really no point to get that chaff clear. Now, one interesting thing I want to point out is that Illuminati added 2 AM devices right here. Normally, I don't like to use AM devices against Farseers, but just so it happens, these Farseers now have range. If the Farseers don't have range, these AM devices are actually not that effective in clearing out those missiles, but because of the range, they can essentially spot the missiles at the maximum range of 180 meters. And they have all that distance to stop those rockets from landing. And once again, this level 4 Farseer is just doing God's work and just clearing out the board for the entire board here. And here's the AM device just effectively eliminating those 2 rockets every time they try to fire. And it's never going to hit that tower. Wow, what a beautiful sight. Photon is being offered once again, but he doesn't need it because the boat already has them. So for Illuminati, it's probably going to be Missile Strike. Now, if you're Baller, how do you want to win this game? Right now, the big problem is the Farseers, because they haven't been leveled, they're going to have a little bit of a hard time into Photon, Launcher Overload, and ranged Overlords. Which means for a Baller, he'll need something stronger to answer the air, and that is going to be the Melting Point. Melting Point with the range, they do outrange these boats by, let's say, 40 meters? Yeah, 40 meters. So the boat will have to travel for a few seconds before they can even hit a Melting Point, and by that time, the Melting Point's charge would have been full and the boat would have been dead. One tricky part about Melting Point is that they cannot act alone. You will need a lot of support, both for ground chaff clear as well as for air chaff clear. Illuminati decided to spend a hefty amount of supplies to bring out a level 1 war factory with missile interceptor. So this is a 1250 supply investment, right? So that's a lot of money. He could have bought more boats, but instead it decided to go with the War Factory. And the War Factory is going to be on the corner to deal specifically with that Farseer. And it's a little unfortunate for Illuminati because this is the round that the melting point came online for Baller. And just look at how effective these melting points are against. Right, gets the tower. Chaff Clear still something to be desired, but the melting point are definitely doing what they're supposed to do, which is to taking down this giant unit. Now, can this melting point actually bring down this War Factory? And the answer is yes, with tower debuff. And say goodbye to your AM devices. So a huge round here for our rep player. I don't think it's lethal, but it's definitely going to hurt. Ouch. Okay. Tarantula might actually be interesting here. Take late Tarantulas with Spider Mine. We know that Baller doesn't really have a strong Chaff Clear, so you can take Tarantulas and put them down here. And just spew a spawn Spider Mine to deal, to cause trouble in later on. And that will force the melting point to target the Spider Mines. But instead, it's going to be Stonecallers. Stonecallers are really good into Scorpions. And for Illuminati, for Baller, he decided to pick a level 3 Fortress just to be extra tanky. I don't know if level 3 Fortress actually is the correct choice here. I mean, I understand the need to have tanky units up front because most of your chaff are just going to disappear under the fire and also whenever they engage the Vulcan. So you want to have something at the front. But it is a very expensive unit, and this fort is not quite solving the aggro problem that Baller has. Right now, the big problem that Baller has is sledgehammers. They're still killing them a little too slowly. The Scorpions are still very exposed and they die too quickly. Once he gets rid of the sledgehammers, these melting points will have no problem dealing with the Overlords. However, that being said, that is when the Overlords do not have the Mothership technology. And with the Mothership and the additional squad of Wasps, these melting points are just going to spend the entire game shooting at this Wasps. So in a surprising turn of events, Illuminati is going to win this game. So the lesson learned here is that there is an opportunity in every mistake, right? Illuminati missed round 5 by clicking the end turn a little bit too early, and then he was able to get this huge tempo advantage with 2 Vulcans from the unit drop and 3 level 2 Overlords, and eventually carry him to the finish line. So whenever you're downing Mechabellum, whether it's by misclicking or it's just simply because your opponent found a really good counter for your previous round, don't feel bad, don't give up, because there was always a winning condition in the game. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this game, and if you want to see something crazy just like this one, here's another video for you, and I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics, Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress, the battlefield's alive with swarms.